Today we're taking a look at the Be Quiet Lightbase 900 DX series case. Thanks to Be Quiet for sending this case over for us to take a look at. The Lightbase 900 series of cases are a premium line of gaming PC cases for those of us who are looking at pretty serious gaming builds to show off. This case is a huge tempered glass side panel on the front side and on the side panel in order to maximize viewing angle for those glorious RGBs while you're gaming on your PC. This is obviously a fish tank style dual chamber PC case, allowing for all the slick looking components to be shown off on the front side while you hide away the PSU and all the extra cabling and bits on the back side. This is done to help increase the overall airflow in the case to help keep your CPU, GPU, and everything else running nice and cool. The Lightbase 900 series of cases comes in a couple of different flavors. The one that I have here today is the DX version, which does not ship with fans. This case, however, does ship in an FX version, which includes 4 140mm Light Wings ARGB PWM fans, and they're very nice fans at that. The model that I have is basically meant for people who already have fans picked out, or maybe if you already have an AIO or water cooler, you can use that instead. No matter which version of the case you get though, you can actually get kind of carried away with this case. This case supports not one, but two 420mm radiators, which is kind of awesome. Depending on how your water cooling setup is planned, the side intake area can also support a 360mm rad. And all of that combined together would be some serious cooling power. This case supports up to 10 total 140mm fans, but all of those fan slots also have mounting support for 120mm fans. Your overall cooling capability in this case will not be an issue. While the DX version that I have here doesn't come with those fans, it does still include the awesomely huge ARGB light strips that go all along the front, the top, and the bottom of the case. Subjectively speaking, I really like the look of this case, and lately, I've really been getting into these white builds with RGB. I definitely think they look nice during the daytime and when it's dark out. As for the airflow in this case, it's extremely well ventilated, just like its smaller brother, the Lightbase 600. The side panel towards the front of the case supports those extra 3 intake fans. They can breathe easy thanks to that mesh backing. It's not completely unrestricted, there is some filtering going on there, but they should be able to suck in a decent amount of fresh, cool air. The bottom of the case is mostly all mesh as well, providing some air filtering again with the mesh and decent airflow, especially for your GPU. The top of the case is also mesh everything. So even though that front panel is solid glass, you can pretty much plan on this build to really breathe well, since you have really good control over the airflow within the case. As for my test system for this build, it consists of my updated Ryzen 9700X RTX 4070 Super build. I ran the Lightloop 360mm AIO as the CPU cooler, and that was pretty much it for active cooling. I did not install any extra fans, but you definitely could, and you definitely should if you're going to end up picking this case up and really building it out. As for the CPU stress testing, I ran Prime 95 with the smallest FFT testing for about 1 hour to take a look at the core temps. We were about 76.7 C on average, but I did note that the CPU speed was about 50 to 75 MHz lower than it was when I ran the Be Quiet 600LX testing, and that's probably due to the lack of the extra airflow from those fans. Again, in your scenario, you're almost certainly going to install those fans or set up a radiator with extra cooling. As for the GPU testing, after 1 hour of looping a 3D Mark Time SPI test, the RTX 4070 core temp was about 58.4 C. Again, we lost a couple of megahertz, nothing big, versus the Lightbase 600LX. I think it's kind of neat that Be Quiet offers this case in a version that does not include fans, and then they offer a version that does include fans. If you want the fans, you'll definitely pick up the FX series. You'll get a little bit better cooling, but if you want to choose your own fans or you have a different kind of setup in mind, the DX is available for you. In terms of the noise testing, I did measure this with my smartphone and the Sound Meter app, about 2.5 feet away from the computer. It basically registered about 25.5 dBA, so that's quite quiet. It will go up when you add some extra fans, but you can get away with a relatively quiet configuration. And these were actually only running at 50%, so I definitely still have quite a bit of headroom to really crank these up if I wanted to increase the power usage and overclock. In my opinion though, running these fans at about 50% speed was more than enough to get relatively good performance and still keep the sound very low. I really like living that be quiet lifestyle. I don't really want to wear headphones in order to drown out the sound of the fans from my system, so this was really an optimal setup for me. As for building inside of this case, it was relatively easy since it's really a huge case. The cable pass-throughs are great, and the case is just designed in a way that really makes it easy to work in. As for the build quality of this case, everything was in good shape, and I didn't really have any issues that I noticed while I was working on it. I like that the rear side of this case has tons of space. The PSU mounts really nicely on these feet on the PSU holder, and we even have a hard drive mounting option. Not that most people are probably going to take advantage of that, but you can expand your storage in that way if you desire to. The 900 has some built-in cable management ties as well. I really like that for the main grouping of cables. That really kind of keeps them nice and tidy, and you don't have to worry about kind of seeing those cables when you're trying to show off your PC. Of course, if you do prefer to just kind of jam all that cabling in there instead of neatly managing it, well, you won't have any issue jamming that back panel on. There's so much room on the back side that you basically could leave everything a jumbled mess and still be able to comfortably get the PC set up. In general, I would say that I really like the way that this case is built. It's relatively sturdy, even with that big glass panel removed, which is good. I think it's neat that Be Quiet included that little arm inside of the case to help hold those heavier graphics cards. I've definitely read reports about graphics cards sagging and sometimes that little clip or arm breaking off, which is super bad, so it's nice to see that Be Quiet added this in. This can function in vertical or horizontal GPU mounting, which is also very slick. Including this in the case is going to save you a couple bucks on a GPU holder as well, something to think about. In order to increase the value proposition of this case even more, the case includes 2 ARGB fan hubs, which is insanely awesome. We're getting one at the top and one at the bottom. Each of these is a 6-port PWM ARGB fan hub. They aren't big and bulky, and they're built right into the case, just kind of a neat solution. If you're really going to load up your system with fans for air cooling or water cooling, these are going to be handy to have. As the marketing material says, Be Quiet does support setting this case up in different orientations. Essentially, you're just twisting and moving those adjustable feet, and you can lock them in to reverse the side of the case or put it on its backside. You've got the normal orientation, the lay down flat, or inversion. It's great to see that Be Quiet retains this capability throughout many of the cases that they've designed in the last couple of years. This isn't a super common feature, but it's nice that they're still building this in. When you think about it, people tend to keep cases for a very long time. So this case, or this build, might start out as your main desktop build, but over time, say you transition it to being a living room or PC gaming in another space. You might want to invert the case, or you might want to lay it on its side in order to show it off. As for the overall dimensions of this case, it's coming in at 532 millimeters long, 327 millimeters wide, and 484 millimeters high. It's weighing in at a whopping 39 pounds, largely thanks to that huge glass panel on the side of the case and the front one. As for the I/O, we have a pretty good selection in my opinion. We've got a single USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port, 2 USB 3.2 Type-A ports, and a combined 3.5mm audio jack. We've also got an ARGB button control for that hub and a power button. As for the maximum component sizes that you can fit inside of this case, you can actually go up to a 190mm tall CPU cooler, which is insanely huge. I don't even know if I know of one that big. You can also fit up to a 225mm long PSU, again, very large. And you can go as wide as a 495mm long GPU. Again, in terms of the cooling, this case can accept 2 420mm radiators at the top and the bottom, and you still have room for a 360mm rad on that side mount. We've also got that rear exhaust. You can mount either a 120 or 140mm rad on there, but that's not super common anymore. This case is coming in white and black, but personally, I've been a fan of the white version lately, even though historically all of my PC cases have been black. I've noticed that the white cases really let you see the different colors of the components that you've installed, and at nighttime, you can really set that RGB up to look nice. At the time that I created this video, the Lightbase 900 series of cases is coming in somewhere between $190 and $170, depending on the version you get, on Amazon. In my opinion, that's a good deal considering the good build quality, the large feature set, the configurability after you've purchased it, and in general, this is just a huge case. All of that adds up to extra in terms of cost. And of course, we are looking at a relatively nice looking case, so I think the cost is justified. I'll have a couple of affiliate links in the description below if you want to check out this case and the components that I used in my system. Definitely head down there and check that out. If you got anything useful out of this video, I would definitely appreciate it if you could smash that like button, as that'll let YouTube know to share this video with other gamers who are researching awesome PC cases. Gaming and home lab stuff is basically all I cover on this channel. If you're into that, get subscribed to the channel and ring that bell for notifications. Until next time, keep on gaming.